our feature presentation.
To infinity and beyond!
My name's Bond. James Bond.
That'll do, Piggy.
Bad boys, what you gonna do?
Sorry, with the box. What was in the box?
Damn! Ew! Get off of me! Ugh, I'm
A lot of people go to college for 7 years.
I know. They're called doctors.
Houston, we have a problem.
Hail to the chief. He's the chief and he needs hailing. Welcome in, everybody, to 52/1995, your live movie conversation podcast that everybody talks about.
Everyone. They won't shut up about it.
They won't shut up about it. I hear him talking about it down the street today. Well, basically everybody's talking about it, but they don't know what it is. So I'll tell you what it is. We dive deep into the movies of 1995. I'm your host, Cody. I'm thrilled to be joined this week by my fantastic co-host, Ryan. Welcome in, Ryan.
Thank you, Cody.
You're welcome, Ryan. For those tuning in for the first time, we're so glad that you're here every week, 52 weeks to be exact. We explore a different film from 1995. It could be a classic hit, a quirky gem, or somewhere right in the middle. We dive into the year's important releases, discuss them in detail, and then chat with the guest about their thoughts, experiences with the movie, and then also see what they've been watching lately. And I know Ryan's been diving deep into some 1001 movies to see before you die, and I can't wait to hear what he's watched. Our current theme, we do these in theme months. Our current theme is You Love Me, You Really Love Me. And all the movies that we're talking about are all romances this month. And today's movie of choice is The American President. Before we jump into this week's movie, let's again welcome Ryan, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Ryan, have you seen the film that we're discussing today?
Once, I think, when I was in my Sorkin era, I probably checked it out then, I think.
Yeah, so Aaron Sorkin, the writer of this movie, probably most famous for The West Wing. Probably but also just a, pretty well-renowned screenwriter. Also responsible for one of my favorite movies of the last 15 years, which is The Social Network. He did the screenplay for The Social Network. He's done a lot of other ones too. And now he's started directing movies as well. So check him out on IMDb if you don't know what he has done. So you've seen this film, you did it in your Sorkin era. What are your first impressions of this film? Or what do you think of when you think of Aaron Sorkin? I guess I should.
Well, certainly like West Wing is when everybody kind of learned him as a name. He had been doing stuff before that. And I'm a big fan of West Wing. It's a divisive show, but the people who love it deeply. I'm definitely a defender of that. Even the Sorkin misses like The Newsroom, I think are pretty great. I think he has a very, very unique. He's only got a few tricks in his bag, but he's the only person that has those tricks in his bag, and nobody could do them better than him. And so when you're in the mood for that, that's where you go. There's nowhere else to go. So I love it. And I think this movie is everything I love about Sorkin. It's fast. It's smart. It is earnest and heartfelt. And yeah, it's just very written. I like very written things. I like lots of words. I like lots of emotions in my movies. I like dialogue and monologue and principles and meaning. And I think that nobody else could make a romantic comedy that's also a West Wing episode as well.
Yeah.
It's like a perfect little gem of two different genres. One that Sorkin kind of invented, and another that's time tested. And you would think on paper that maybe this movie couldn't work, but it definitely does.
It definitely does. He's, the comedy part of this is probably not as like slap your knee funny.
That's true.
Which some of the jokes
cutesy.
Cutesy is a great way to put this.
The nervousness, the how do I get her flowers, all that isn't hilarious, but it is it is cute and lighthearted.
And I would say the only other person that does maybe comedy in like a political setting is the guy that did the Thick of It TV show. It's a British TV show. Armando Iannucci.
Yeah,
he did Veep. is a great example.
Veep is nobody does comedy and politics like Veep. That's definitely the funniest. But there's no romance. There's no sentiment. There's no heartfelt ideals or anything. It's just straight up satire. Death to Stalin, right? He did that. Great movie.
Yeah, and I only bring up that because of the comedy. If you wanted to see comedy and satire in politics, that's the way to go. But you're absolutely right, especially with the idealism or the ideals in this movie. And yes, the speeches and the talking thing, I think is because it's so fast paced too. That's such a Sorkin thing.
Yeah, that's such a Sorkin thing, which I love. I don't know if it's ADHD or just boredom from watching a million movies and TV shows. I like, even if they're not the best things in the world, if people are talking fast, I'm already going to give it like a 1.5-star bump because we can move along. If I don't like a part, another part's coming right down the road. So I like talking. I like fast talking things. We're rewatching Psych right now, Gilmore Girls, stuff like that, like very widespread things. Community we've talked about a lot. So like anything that's like yapping really fast, I'm just going to enjoy it a lot more. And Sorkin does that great. And while we're talking about Sorkin, I did point out, like, with the cheesiness, very little art is aspirational. I think the only thing you can compare Sorkin's like earnestness with, where he gets a lot of criticism or people roll their eyes at him, is like a kind of Disney culture. Like kind of emotion bait, Oscar baity, like kind of mainstream, heartstrings tugging schmaltz and cheese. And lots of people dislike that. That works for a lot of people. They keep making it. It keeps being successful. But that bores the hell out of me. I've seen those movies. I've had my heartstrings tugged by them. I'm just seeing like continuous, like, rewatch like 688 or whatever, and it feels like a formula that like doesn't really cut to my heart that much. Whereas Sorkin on the other side has intellectual schmaltz and adult schmaltz in a way. The word I wanted to use was aspirational. I think of things like The Cosby Show. That got a lot of criticisms for being too cheesy and too unrealistic for what real family life was like. It's nice on television to have an aspiration of a healthy, happy family. And in this way, I like Aaron Sorkin's political work and in this movie, because even if being a single dad or being a president or dating is never this sweet and perfect and idealistic, it's nice to remember that we should kind of aim for higher goals. And I think that really well in a cynical environment.
I would say that Sorkin, when he like talking about it, does feel like a Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, like Capra-esque, which is in the movie. In the movie, that it does have that feel to it, and we, like you said, there has been like a Disneyfication of movies, especially like sports movies and things like that. We really don't have anything in the political. I don't know if anybody just is so burned out, because I feel like there was a lot of like political presidential movies around
in the 90s. It was a safe topic, which is strange because obviously for lots of reasons in the 21st century, post 9/11, like just kind of making a non-political movie just about the president, it was either, there's a lot of 90s movies where they're action movies, right? Independence Days and a bunch of like kind of ripoffs of that, Olympus Has Fallen, stuff like that. But then there was like, Dave, and what else was there? Even Wag the Dog.
Wag the Dog, Primary Colors, which is kind of a glimpse at the presidency. The Candidate, I think, with Robert Redford a few years before this, is a little bit more on the comedy side, like dramedy side of this. There's a couple others out there. Head of State.
Comedy.
So. Yeah, again, this is like another genre that's kind of gone by the wayside.
Well, what you get now, and I think especially in we'll always like border on politics in this conversation without getting deep into it. But like the Donald Trump era, like, you've got The Apprentice out now. You've got stuff like that never really seems to hit as hard as the filmmakers want it to for anybody. But like, I look back at The Ides of March was a really good political movie, but it's very dark and cynical about the corruption in politics. So I think you can still make those movies.
Yeah, and I think of everything else is more like financial, finances and politics. So The Big Short is a great example. Adam McKay also did Vice about Dick Cheney. But Oliver Stone's W is
again, that's more like, let's criticize conservative presidents through either like hard-hitting drama or like comedy pastiche. but not anything aspirational at all about politics. I don't think the American public at the moment or recently has had any stomach for the idea that any politician is worth a damn or does have like, you know, good goals in their heart.
Maybe we just know too much now too.
Well, I was going to bring that up when you brought up like Big Short and stuff. Like, I think like the podcast era has us hungry for more like machinery, you know, about politics, not just about how one president, you know, runs his life or his administration, but like the deep lore of the financial like sector or the EPA or some like very much more specific part of big government that has a lot of details and is a little more explainy.
Yeah, it's crazy because like I know now like how many Diet Cokes and quarter pounders with cheese that Donald Trump eats every day.
Yeah, right.
I just know everything about it because it's all reported on. I think 24-hour news too has become a big part of this, and a lot of the mystique of the presidency is gone. So we don't look at these people like we used to in the past, especially if you're talking about like 40s, 50s, 60s.
Well, and we can't just show up to a movie where Michael Douglas is the president and trying to date without bringing our own political baggage to that movie. And so that why would Hollywood, why would a script writer, why would a director try to cut through all of that when that's just giving themselves so much work when you can just write another movie that's a lot that doesn't have that baggage around it. But just to circle all the way back again, like I don't know if I'm like just shadow boxing against critics I've talked to over the years of people who just kind of want to like look down on Sorkin. He is Capra-esque, and people look down on Capra a lot for being cheesy and a little shallow. But I mean, nobody has proven more than Aaron Sorkin that there is a hunger for earnestness, for ambitious kind of ideals in the modern world, and that we would like to sit down and watch somebody be brave, somebody be good, to not have to question motives over and over and over again. And the West Wing does that while not being stupid, while still, you know, maybe very liberal biased, center left biased, and Aaron Sorkin biased, maybe not even that accurate all the time, but is trying to make people look smart and make smart people look cool for caring and trying. Yeah, and I think that you're right about like the center left bias, especially like West Wing, but like somehow they convinced even, you know, right-leaning people to watch it and accept it because like the ideals on the show weren't crazy, like, and it weren't seeming crazy, I would say. I think you can't even get away with that now without it being such a polarizing thing. Like the things that are talked about in this movie, like it's kind of crazy to watch it through a 2025 lens when they're talking about a firearms bill and an environmental bill. And I'm just like, oh my God, we're still fighting this freaking thing to this day. And these bills that he's trying to get passed, no way. None. Oh, and like striking, like proportional response strikes in Libya, and West Wing took all of this and expanded on it in many episodes, but also did the same thing that this movie does, where his special gift is that he can make like a crazy man's, you know, bulletin board with strings connecting plots, make 4 issues in a West Wing episode, very well fleshed out, as well as 3 characters' personal lives, all in an hour, and then kind of make them all tie together while pacing it just right. And it's really just a brilliant skill. Every Aaron Sorkin project will always just like smell like him and sound like him. He can't take himself out of it, but he is a unique talent. And this movie is an early example of it, other than the one a few years earlier he did with Rob Reiner, which is more known and beloved. Yeah, I also. Oh, is that A Few Good Men? Yeah. I mean, that's into a cinema, American, like, you know, cinema, like Hall of Fame for sure. Yeah. And that also is about bad things happening, but is aspirational about good people making dramatic speeches and being very intelligent and struggling with moral issues, but then ultimately doing what they believe is right. And he did some movies for Netflix, and where he directed and wrote them, or he actually did one for Amazon and then another one for Netflix. Being the Ricardos, I think, is the one that he did for Amazon about I Love Lucy, and again somehow pulls like a very like
set time in the I Love Lucy history where she was accused of being a communist. And I think I don't think it's a perfect movie. I don't love that movie by any means, but it's an entertaining watch. It does the Sorkin things that you love. It does walk and talks. It does that fast talking. It also does like this very earnest, like, I'm not a communist. I'm not like, and saying like, even if I was a communist, screw them kind of thing.
None of your business.
Yeah, none of your business. And then the other one was the Chicago 7.
That's the one I've seen. I haven't seen Being the Ricardos. And the Chicago 7, I mean, I think is a good example of, he's not the best. He's better at being a script writer, and he's better at being a showrunner, that kind of thing, than he is at being a director. But it's fun. I mean, I think it's more like, hey, if you're a Sorkin fan, watch the Trial of Chicago 7. You'll get lots of cool history because you're probably into that. Lots of cool political fights because you're probably into that. Lots of snappy dialogue and all of that. But it's not David Fincher directing The Social Network. You know? It takes an Aaron Sorkin script and makes it, like, elevates it to cinema art to a degree, so he doesn't have that ability to direct like that.
Well, maybe he gets better with each one of these. I mean, I think the Trial of the Chicago 7 might have got nominated for Best Picture. I think that was
something. And I think it was bad at all.
No, but his scripts are strong enough. He's just a consistently good writer. I mean, some of the lines that I didn't even write down some of the quotes because but some of their lines in this movie are just so good.
Oh, I got exhausted to being like, well, that's a good quote. We should bring that up. That's a good quote. And I was like, well, they're all good quotes. That's what he does. He writes, a script with 1,000 good quotes in them. Yeah,
it's perfect. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about this a little bit. The movie's title is just called The American President. It came out November 17th, 1995. It is directed by Rob Reiner. He's coming off of Bomb last year. That was probably is considered one of his worst movies ever, but Rob Reiner's still in his I would still say he's in a hot streak.
I think this is the end of it.
I think this is the very end of his
I was looking at it. Maybe The Bucket List was actually like a mainstream hit.
Yeah.
But everything else, I mean, I've seen a few. I've seen like The Magic of Belle Isle, and that's one of the shittiest movies I've ever seen. And I saw that next year he's coming out with Spinal Tap 2, so he must be tired of losing at the box office. And
he's got to go back to the well.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, Rob Reiner coming off of some great movies out off of North. This is the end for him. And of course we've talked exhaustively about Aaron Sorkin, the writer of this. The cast, what a strong cast for this movie. Michael Douglas coming in at President, Andrew Shepard, Annette Bening as Sydney Ellen Wade, Martin Sheen, who plays Jed Bartlett in The West Wing, coming in as AJ McKierney, playing the chief of staff, David Paymer, as Leanne Kodak. He's the deputy chief of staff. Samantha Mathis as Janie Basnet. I see all these people and I'm like, oh yes, here you are in West Wing, and here like putting all the pieces together. John Mahoney as Leo Solomon, Michael J. Fox as Louis Rothschild. He's the assistant to the president for domestic policy. Anna Deavere Smith, who is also in West Wing, as Robin McCall as the press secretary. Richard Dreyfuss is not in this movie as I remembered him, as much as I remember him being in this movie, playing Senator Bob Rumson. And then the Icebox, Shauna Waldron, she plays the daughter of the president. She's Icebox, yeah. Josh Malina, also from West Wing, is in this movie. Wendy Malick, probably best known from Just Shoot Me, the television show. She's in this as well. So the synopsis for this movie: with the end of his first term in sight, widowed U.S. President Andrew Shepard knows that overwhelming public support will guarantee his re-election. But when he falls in love with lobbyist Sydney Ellen Wade, Shepard's supporters question the relationship and his approval ratings drop. As a rival presidential candidate goes on the attack, Shepard must choose between his political career and his love for Sydney. This movie had a budget of $62 million, had to be acting, like it had to be the actors that jacked that up. It had a box office return of 107.9 million, so a pretty good return on this. We are on a pretty hot streak of having some good reviewed movies. This movie's sitting at 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb at 6.8, and Letterboxd at 3.4. Roger Ebert gave this a perfect 4 out of 4 stars. He said, Watching The American President, I felt respect for the craft that went into it, the flawless recreation of the physical world of the White House, the smart and accurate dialogue, the manipulation of the love story to tug our heartstrings. 4 out of 4, Roger Ebert. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I had is that Siskel and Ebert both mentioned North in their review. They're still mad about it. They're still angry about North. So, like, I think Ebert was like, I'm so happy to be able to like this movie.
Yeah.
After North, I didn't think like, he's like, basically, I thought this guy should be run out of on a rail out of the country. But I'm so glad he came back and won. But he can't even say that he likes this movie without talking about how much he hates North.
And he actually said this is one of his favorite movies of the year for 1995. Susan Rathke, I think this probably came out a little bit later because it's a review from film.com. She says, when it comes right down to it, High Office does not guarantee high comedy. Didn't like this movie that much. This movie, of course, we've kind of already dove deep into the legacy that this movie has. Of course, The West Wing that Aaron Sorkin is known for. He said that much of the first season was actually taken from material that he edited out of the first draft of The American President script. Which I think about that first season and I'm like, yeah, that fits. Like some of this fits really well.
Well, I mean, it's not the trivia section yet, but I did read that his first draft of the script was 385 pages long.
Jesus. That's a season of television.
Yeah.
The concept for the television show Spin City was set in motion after the writers saw Michael J. Fox in this movie playing one of the political aides. They wrote it so that he would play a similar character for television. Obviously, Spin City's a more comedic show, but you can kind of see that with his character that he plays here. This film is also recognized by AFI as number 75 in its list of 100 Years, 100 Passions. We've seen that a couple times this year. And this movie was nominated for 1 Academy Award for Best Original Musical or Comedy Score. I didn't realize that they split it for like drama score. Had a separate one. Didn't realize
the Oscars this year don't. I think it's just Best Original Score. So
the movie was nominated for 5 Golden Globes, though: Best Picture, Musical or Comedy, Director, Actor, and Actress, and Screenplay for those. So. All right, let's dive into it. Let's talk about some of our favorite scenes that we had in this movie.
Well, I mean, I think the movie starts with the maybe the first, because I don't know that they do this in A Few Good Men ever. The first like Sorkin walk and talk.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the opening of this thing where he's walking around the White House and people are popping in and popping out with different conversations happening. I mean, it's not the long shot. It's not quite as walkie and talkie as the West Wing would come to be known for, but it is the walk and talk from Aaron Sorkin's favorite tricks.
And I love one of the things I think Sorkin does really well is he doesn't paint any of the characters, even the president, as being like, I feel like everybody is respected.
Yes.
In here. So when he is doing the walk and talk with like Michael J. Fox, he's listening to Michael J. Fox. He doesn't necessarily agree with what Michael J. Fox is saying at the time, but he's like, listen, he's like, I hear you, but we can't do this. We got to
do his stories. I think that's probably true about almost all of his work. But I mean, in one scene with like, again, not one fluid thing, but one fluid shot or anything, but in one scene, the president's the president. You meet his assistant. You hear about the speech he gave last night. You hear multiple takes about what's wrong with the speech and what it might mean. You hear about the environmental bill. You hear about his polling numbers. You hear about his dead wife. You hear about guns, the gun bill. You hear about a drug bill that doesn't come up later on. And you meet, his whole team pretty much in just a few minutes. So it's pretty impressive way to just, it's a little bit drinking from a fire hose, but it definitely gets you excited and paying attention and get some jokes in there. You get to understand like people's character voices and just like a whole constellation of issues that'll be in the movie.
And character dynamics, who he interacts with, what kind of relationship he has with each one of those people, how comfortable they feel in front of the president. And I mean, his deputy press secretary or his press secretary is the one that mentions his dead wife and then goes, "Oh shit, I shouldn't have done that." Yeah. Stop looking like a widow, or we can't keep milking that for as long as we want. And like I particularly like obviously his relationship with AJ. Is that his name?
AJ,
or,
yeah.
AJ, yeah. Martin Sheen. I used to get Martin Sheen and Michael Douglas confused, and this movie really.
I did kind of think that Martin Sheen was the president in this movie.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh no, he's not. Michael Douglas is, and Martin Sheen's just there in the chief of staff role.
Yeah, it's a good rapport that you have between all of the characters, and there's nobody that you like. Nobody jumps out and like you hate anybody, or think that like somebody's got these crazy agendas in the back. Like you already know that everybody's on the same team. It feels like there are these like passing comments and things, but like everybody's on the same team.
There are different dynamics, different priorities, different approaches, but they're they are united by a singular goal to have an effective presidency.
No, and I love that. I love the first scene. I love everything that you explained about it. Setting up so much in so little time.
The CSAT stuff on my second watch. The thing that gets bombed, the surface-to-air defense missile that gets bombed later on by Libyans. That's in my second watch. I was like, oh, that's in the beginning. They're talking about that for a second too.
Yeah,
but you can't catch all of it.
Because it just got finished, right? That's the.
Yeah, they're just ready to go, and I think there's even a line that says, any danger of attack or something like that, and we're like, nope, everything's good. Like that's not going to happen. And then later on in the movie, it does.
So clever, yeah, so good. Next scenes, or what else?
I guess just the kind of compilation of scenes that introduced Sydney Ellen Wade.
Yeah,
she shows up like Jimmy Stewart. There is some funniness about her character because she is a lobbyist, and kind of they call her like the Hammer or some shit. Like she's the closer that comes but she's not an environmental activist. She's a lobbyist for hire. So she doesn't come into the environmental lobbying out of pure passion, though she does seem to believe in it. But she shows up in Washington like she's Jimmy Stewart, and that's when she has the interaction with the security guard about it being Capra-esque. And like, oh my God, I'm here, the coolest place in the entire world, the center of American government. So you get that kind of like wide-eyedness from her to begin with, which doesn't really match that she's like that later on she's like, people vote who I tell them to vote for. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Well, you've been in DC before. That's probably wasn't your first time.
And she says later, she's like, oh, I've gotten the tour before, but never so it wasn't technically her first time.
Well, I guess it wasn't. She was probably just commenting on how exciting it always is to come back to DC. I don't think they ever claimed that it was her first time there, but they have the whole Capra thing, and how wonderful and excited she is, which seems a little. I'm not mad about it. It just seems a little too wide-eyed and new to the scene than her character is described as being, who is a practiced lobbyist who is very successful and known to be very successful.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, I think that the scene, speaking of like CSTAD thing, we also have something that gets followed. We get another like side story that gets followed up on later in the movie with her coworker or whatever, the woman that didn't even want Sydney hired on. She says that really rude thing to the guard, to Sydney. That's like, he doesn't know what Capra-esque means. I was like, okay, that's awful.
Yeah, and the guy was like, yeah, I do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. All these things. He's like, yeah, I know what that is. I've watched movies, dude. But anyway, we get a follow-up with that at the end of the movie when she's like, I'm sorry that I was such a bitch to you. And
yeah, that was a play at comedy that didn't land.
Yeah.
I mean, because I kind of liked the line, but I didn't realize I was supposed to laugh at it at first, where later on in the movie, she's like, I realize I have a lot of anger. I've been blaming my mother and my ex-husband, but that hasn't been working. Yeah, and that's all you get from it at the end.
And that's some of the like misses on the comedy that Sorkin is. It's kind of a common thing, I feel like, with Sorkin. Like, not everything is really as clever or funny as he thinks it's going to hit, but for the most part, everything else is really good.
I do think there are little moments of comedy where and I think probably Sorkin does this in his own movies, in The West Wing too. Where he wants the pace so fast that it doesn't let a beat land. So I think they cut away from her saying that so much that I forgot to pay attention. I think there's some other lines. I know one with the daughter, at least later in the movie, feels that way, where it's like a funny moment, but she's talking a little too fast. And then it cuts away right after she's done talking. And like, oh, you didn't want to give that joke time to breathe. You wanted to move on too fast.
I also think the word dork is so funny.
Dork is funny, yeah. Especially from like a kid in the 90s.
Yeah. No, but that scene after she does get into but once she does get into the room with AJ and everything, we do see the hammer, we see Annette Bening's character, or Sydney Ellen Wade, just kind of hammering it home like, hey, we're not going to settle for anything. And what you're going to do to us is you're going to cut what we say in half. And he's like, yep, you're right. Like, you guessed it.
Well, the coworker doesn't like her. Is like, well, we got to get out of here. We got to leave. And she's like, I know we're not going to leave because we're not going to leave. I can see in his face that he's going to tell us this, And Martin Sheen's like, no, yeah, you're right. That is what I'm going to tell you before you leave. And
then she says something of bashing the president. I can't remember what it was. I thought I wrote it down. I wrote what Martin Sheen or what the president says in response to it down, which is very funny. But yeah, she sticks her foot in the mouth because the president comes up behind her, which is great political play that they had already planned out before this meeting. They're like, yeah, stop by and like show your face. They won't expect it. And it'll, soften them on the idea of taking 10% as opposed to 20%.
Right. Yeah. So we're gonna hit them with a disappointment. And this is what Sorkin is also good at. It is very aspirational, but it's not one-dimensional or two-dimensional. It's not it's still a political game. It still acknowledges the politics of game. So it's like, okay, well, we have to take this meeting. We have to annoy these people. We're kind of, selling a little piece of our soul because of what we have to get like the gun bill through and to get reelected. But after we disappoint them, you come by and awe them with your presidency, glad hand them, and then they'll be out the door before they realize they're supposed to be mad.
And then he tells her to go to the Oval Office or the rec room, which I really liked that he called it.
Yeah.
And she just is in awe of being in the Oval Office, intimidated, I think, a little bit, pissed off that she just, stuck her foot in her mouth in front of the most important man in the world. And you could tell he's kind of smitten with her just because she is kind of.
And this is why he likes her, is because the little like bait and switch, let's disappoint you and then, charm you out the door with the leader of the free world kind of celebrity status. Doesn't work on her, and she is flustered and she feels stupid and she apologizes. She comes in the Oval Office, apologizes again, but that doesn't stop her from saying, by the way, you're still not going to screw us on this. She comes and fights back even through all of that. And I think that's the moment when he goes, man, she really is a force of her own.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with this woman.
And then we get her storyline. Not only is the romantic storyline part of this, but her storyline of securing the votes she needs to get her environmental bill fully passed with the full 20%. And he's like, yeah, I'll make that deal with you. And, he doesn't think she's going to get it because nobody's going to.
Right. And I'm sure he's attracted to her in this moment too, but not because of flirting, not because of anything other than being impressed with her capacity. Maybe this is subtext too, but like more about him being disappointed, which you get a lot more of in West Wing, but is in this too. Like, we constantly have to make political decisions and like sell out our values for some stupid reason. And our hands are tied. We've tried our best. We have to do it. Maybe he sees somebody who doesn't have to do that and is going to fight back and says, well, I don't know, maybe if I gave this little like deal off the cuff that if you get this done, then we'll back you. If you do all the work, then we'll, use our presidential voice to back you. And so that does, like you said, sets up her goals. Like, cool. Are you sure you're cool with that? Because I will go and I'll fight and I'll hit this hard to reach, impossible goal as long as you keep your word. And he's like, yeah, if you can get all that done, then I want to be on your side.
Yeah. And he doesn't invite her to the state dinner at this point, right?
No, because I think the next thing is the conversation between him and AJ playing pool. There's two of these in the movie, and they're both really good.
Yeah.
Just old friends, but also like this weird coworker dynamic as well. But it's basically, and this is where some of the comedy comes from. I think one of the quotes we'll have, I didn't even write down because I remember this before I ever saw the movie. It's kind of the thesis statement joke of the movie that was in the trailer all the time, which is, did she say anything about me? Well, no, Mr. President, but if you want, I can pass her a note before study hall. Which I think is always in the trailers because it's a funny line, but it also just tells everybody what the movie's about.
Mm-hmm.
So they're having all that. And at that point, AJ does say, later on, he's always kind of like not committed at the relationship, but he does say, all right, man, go for it. You want this, you should call her. And then later on, you have the phone call scene.
The phone call scene where he calls her up and she had just gotten off the phone with her coworker or somebody. And she even mentions
apartment because hers isn't ready yet.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. So it's not even her phone. She gets a call from the president. She thinks it's her friend playing a prank on her. And she basically just gives him what for, and then says something about, oh, let me just tell you, have a nice ass. Or and then he calls her back and he's like, hey, call this number ask for the president. We'll be cool. And then she realizes, oh God, I did it again. Like,
Yeah.
I just stuck my foot in the mouth again. And this is when he invites her to the state dinner
Mhm.
for the new president of France, which
Yeah, right.
is
So yeah, that's the state dinner scene is from that invite, and then yeah, obviously a pretty good first date. She's over the moon impressed. I mean, she gets to escort the president. There's a full orchestra, a band, world leaders, and he's pretty charming through it all too. I mean, it's all very like normal to him, so he gets to be very cool in a state of like intensity and chaos.
she has two really I don't want to say two really great moments, because there is a third moment that I think is probably like super cheesy line, and I feel like we've talked about it before, but she has two really great moments, and one of them is the state dinner, I think, because this is another chance that he gets really impressed with her, because she's just I don't feel like she is in awe of where she's at, but she's also not intimidated, and she talks to AJ and his wife, and then she like talks to the French president and her wife, and
Yeah,
talks to them in
Very
French.
capable of being there.
Yeah,
I'll say this: like what makes us better as a romance thing. If you look at like a standard rom-com in the '90s and 2000s, they always have great jobs, right? They're always like, oh, I'm like a studio TV executive, but you never get to see them be impressive.
yes.
Right, like that's just like a name tag they're wearing, and then they almost never even fit in with the jobs or the impressive thing behind them, because you never get to see them be good at those jobs, and they don't seem like they're in those jobs. They just seem like normal people, and the script says, hey, yeah, they run a newspaper or something, or they're a journalist, but okay, they don't seem like a journalist. I haven't seen them do any journalism. I like that in this movie. It could be done even a little more and a little better, but I like that consistently through this movie, especially as she's the one that's on her back feet, not having the power, being attacked, having all these like ethical dilemmas about her job. She continues to have scenes where she gets shit done because that's what she does. I could have used a little more of that, but I love that so much that you obviously see him be president, but you see her be a lobbyist, and you see her exude qualities without just through his gaze that are incredibly impressive, that make her seem like a very formidable person.
And then after, we get that conversation with the French president. The French president mentioned something about like not dancing, or, we have such a good orchestra. Why is there no dancing or whatever? And then the president takes it upon himself to ask her to dance. And it's a very lovely moment. It's our first like real big romantic moment of this movie. And she looks great in her dress. Now that she takes like the shawl off or whatever it is, that I think she looks, really great in that like blue dress thing that she's got.
Oh yeah, totally.
She looks great. So that was
that with her personality, it might make more sense that she's kind of an on the ground activist rather than a lobbyist. I think I kind of brought that up too, like the weirdness of her being so innocent and passionate while being a what we kind of see as a soulless, gun for hire. I think they have to get somebody into the White House. That's part of the plot, right?
But like we see her, and we even find out later in the movie that she's like, oh, she got fired from her lobbyist position. She's already going to Connecticut to get set up with the new candidate. That's be you assume, I assumed anyway, the other like a Democratic candidate that's gonna challenge the white,
Oh yeah, right. I'll go find somebody who's not a pushover.
Yeah,
not sold out, not too cynical. Yeah, and obviously it becomes a plot point later that she has a history of activism that is more on the ground and more bold than just lobbying. But I do think that part of that is like, well, we got to have a way for her to interact with the president, and like a lobbyist is a pretty easy one to do while making romance not entirely. You probably could have gotten away with a senator, maybe. It'd be fun as like a senator from the other party.
Ooh.
Yeah, you get like some James Cavill, like kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah. Other than that, I don't know what you could do, because I don't know if it was. Yeah, I guess you could have like a secretary member, a chief of staff, a vice president. That'd be cute.
That would be cute. That would be a really cute movie.
Mm-hmm.
Let's write it. I couldn't write it if I tried. So
that's the dinner.
And then he sends her a ham.
Well, you get the fun little like trying to send her flowers kind of thing, and that doesn't work. Sorkin's good at that stuff too. He's a big fan of like little details about about the West Wing, about like little, every day. This is the first, what is it? Dixville Notch is the first town that votes. Little things about that, but then also imagining like the president as a real person and the absurdity of being the president. So it's kind of, there's a few times in this movie where it's not believable. And then sometimes it happens in West Wing too, where the president, who's so smart and so used to being president, is like, well, I don't understand why I can't just drive a Chevy to a flower shop. And it's like, well, you should understand why you can't just do that.
Yeah.
Why are you so confused that everybody doesn't believe you're the president? Like he's on the phone going like, well, actually I'm the president of the United States. And she's like, and gets hung up on. He's like, huh? Why don't people believe that? I'm like, yeah, man, no one's going to believe that.
You get these people into certain roles in their life, and it's like, when did you forget how to become a real person? Like, and understand
I think that it's more like, hey, wouldn't it be likable if the person just feels that they are a real person and never stopped being one, and this shows that they are, but it doesn't quite make any sense.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny when the flower thing pays off too.
That's the comedy. The whole staff is like, well, what's he doing? Why is he making a phone call? And they're all gathered around trying to figure out what he's up to. There's pretty decent comedy there.
Chevy lobbying, that's pretty good. There was no Diet Coke lobbying in this movie. That was part of the fun facts that I saw. Because Michael J. Fox was sponsored by Pepsi at the time or whatever, and he smacks a Diet Coke. I don't know if that was intentional by any means.
I wonder, it'd be funny if it was a Pepsi can and Michael had to be like, guys, I don't think I can do this.
I can't slap this out of here. I can't say the F word and slap this can. So then we get, I don't know if you have any scenes before this and like when she stays over. The
China room's important. I think that's before she stays
the China
over.
room. Yeah, that is right before. That's their first kiss.
Yeah, their first kiss, and it's pretty sweet. He's a real Chad throughout dating. Like he's, as much as he's like nervous and a widower, he's got all the stress on him. Like he never seems nervous at all, which I guess is likable. I don't know how else he would play it. He talks about being nervous at some point right before they're about to sleep together.
I would say I want
to date her. I'm going to do it.
I'm going to date her, but it also seems like super cutesy, like the way that they are dating each other, like they're doing the phone calls and like watching TV together at the same time, like the speech, Senator Rumson speech at one point where he's like talking with her. Oh, well, my staff said this, and they obviously don't like you or whatever. It's dumb stuff like that. That seems very, I don't know, like teenager-ish, but it comes off very cute to me and cutesy in the way that it.
He seems almost too confident than he should. But that does just make him like kind of hotter and cooler. So it works still.
I'm into Michael Douglas in this movie. I get it. We've watched a lot of Michael Douglas films over the last 3 years.
He did after Disclosure.
Yeah, I'm in, man. I love Kirk Douglas, but I think I'm into Michael Douglas. I think I love Michael Douglas too.
I mean, that voice goes a long way.
Yeah, he's a sexy dude and a good actor. Good for him. Jesus.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have China Room leading into the Situation Room side plot. And then I kind of forgot to keep track of scenes in the second half of the movie, so you might need to take over.
Oh, that is okay. China Room into the I do like that. It goes right from their first kiss in the China Room immediately to what is that? Seastad got bombed.
By Libya, yeah. And so that's what's so good about that quick writing is he gives the time for the romance to build. And then the audience feels the romance. They're into it. They've forgotten about everything outside the China Room, but then the world comes crashing back in immediately. Then he's full president for like 8 minutes. Like he's in the Situation Room. Then he's sitting with his staff and none of it's about her. And then all of a sudden that comes crashing back in from the other direction.
And then you get also that Sorkin stuff that, I mean, he does pull into the West Wing a lot, especially with Jed Bartlett as the characters, where he's like, who's in the building that we're about to bomb? How many people are in the building that we're about to bomb? He's just custodial staff, sir. He's like, obviously that's minimal casualties, but he's still like, you can tell
innocent casualties.
Innocent casualties, but he's like still heartbroken over that and actually has a pulse about those kinds of things. And like, he's like, this is the time when I feel the least presidential
and that's clearly some first season West Wing stuff. There's a lot more extended, plot around Jed Bartlett struggling with the concept of proportional response, and that part of his job is that his hands are tied, and if if like, 15 Americans die from this group, then 150 of them have to die. And that's just how the world works. And that's how we keep things peaceful. But it's a really hard thing to understand or be okay with.
I feel like that's first episode of West Wing. Is the proportion. I think it is because like that's the one with like his doctor, like he's gonna get this doctor, this naval doctor, and his naval doctor ends up dying in this bombing that happened. I feel like that proportional response thing is first episode.
Oh, I do think that that pilot is just wonderful. Like if anybody is interested in that at all and hasn't watched it, like there's a lot of West Wing, and maybe the last couple of seasons are pretty weak. But go watch the pilot and you will see so much get done in such a unique, again, very Sorkin-y, very familiar to us by now, but such a unique voice in a way. Like imagine another pilot like 1998, 1999, like trying all of those things, much less succeeding at them.
Yeah.
Because I think the first episode is also when like the like Christian Watchdog group wants him to like condemn some things and he gets pissed off about the proportional response stuff. And Jed Bartlett goes, I'm not playing nice with these people anymore. Like until you condemn this group that I know you hang out with that keeps sending death threats to my daughter, like you're not getting anything from me and you're not welcome in the White House anymore. Jed Bartlett's such a fucking G.
Yeah.
But this is obviously built into that. Now, real quick, we should have talked about it briefly earlier. Not to just talk about the West Wing too much, but this movie feels so much like West Wing that I wonder if anybody's ever written or talked about how much Aaron Sorkin was on set, because he's only credited as a screenwriter. And I know that a lot of screenwriters sometimes are on set and making draft changes, adding, like line readings and talking to the director all the time. He must have been. But the music, the shooting, we keep talking about it like it's an Aaron Sorkin movie. I don't know if Rob Reiner did much. Like maybe
that's true.
He just like, kind of got like what's his face did with Ida Lupino back in the 60s, being like, how about I'm the director and then you just do what you got to do, because it feels like Aaron Sorkin directed this. And if not, then whatever Rob Reiner did, hopefully with his permission, he went on to West Wing and said, hey, I'm going to steal that music idea. I'm going to steal those shots. I'm going to steal like those sets.
I'm going to steal those actors. Like
the actors.
There's like 10 people in this movie that go up and end up in a in West Wing as some character in there, including the sister. That's one of Jed Bartlett's daughters throughout the show. That's the middle daughter.
Yeah. The way Martin Sheen's character is exactly like Leo McGarry's character. Like
yes, Leo. Yeah.
So he must have been on set a lot, and there must have been a lot of talk about that. And I assume I would have heard otherwise, I guess. Rob Reiner was happy with all of that. But yeah, there's no way that he just wrote a script and then never only had to wait for the final product like a lot of screenwriters have to do. He had to be there the whole time.
I didn't even think about this as a Rob Reiner film still.
Yeah, we don't talk about it as a Rob Reiner film.
Yeah.
Because it feels like Aaron Sorkin, yeah.
It's crazy. So we get the Situation Room. The next thing that I have is when she comes over and they have, she stays the night, whatever. And this is her other, this is another moment where I really like her. I am not the biggest Annette Bening fan
I'm
at
not
all.
either. I kept finding why I don't like her in this movie, and I couldn't come up with anything.
No, I think she's great. And it made it so difficult whenever I was doing like recasts. I was like, I don't know. Like Annette Bening is just this good at this. Emma Thompson, I think, is the only other person like I can put on her level.
Well, she was the one that was she was considered for the role.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting, but I was like, this isn't a Susan Sarandon movie. This isn't a Julia Roberts role. This isn't any of those. Like,
well, we'll talk about when we get to it, because I struggled with the recast too, but I do think I found a recast for her. That's probably the only one I'm happy to share.
But anyway, in this movie, she has, I think, three great moments, and I think this moment is kind of when she flips the script on the president, kind of calls him out on his bullshit a little bit, because he's talking about like she came in like, we don't need to do this anymore. This is becoming too complicated and everything. And he's like, you don't have to be nervous. And he's trying to be cool. He's pouring drinks and everything. She's freshening up, and then she comes out just in a button up, white button up, just naked underneath. And I think it's such a badass moment from her.
Yes. And that's a good way to maybe better describe what I was trying to mention earlier. Cause he says, you're so nervous. Here's what we're going to do. We'll just do this and we'll do that. And the second you're ready, and that's when we'll move further, and we don't have to do it. And he says it very almost authoritatively. He's like, this is just what we're going to do. Yeah. Because he says it that way and gives her that room, he turns around and she goes, okay, I'm ready now. And then he goes, oh, now I'm nervous.
Yeah.
And so I thought that this movie had a hard time. It definitely would be harder in the 21st century. But even in 95, there was this, I wrote down like they had to walk the line about him pushing her into this relationship almost irresponsibly versus just being charming. Because he is very like, he's not aggressive. He's, he's not controlling, but he is just like, he won't, doesn't quite take no for an answer. He dismisses every concern from his staff and from her over and over again. He goes, no, I want to do this. I think we should just do it. What if we just did it? What if we just did it? And in the second half of the movie has to be, told by everybody involved, hey, that's not going to work anymore. You have to deal with the real complications that this means. So again, I don't think he's doing anything like toxic, but it's a very kind of weird line they had to draw where he just keeps saying, don't worry about it. Everything will be fine to everybody. And all of her concerns kind of get thrown away, and then till they're in the shit of it and they have to decide whether it was worth doing or not. But they do that. They walk that line pretty well. He does seem charming. He does seem confident. He does seem like it helps us believe that he likes her this much.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not going to think about all that. I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm feeling something I haven't felt in a long time,
Yeah, I like that. And then after they sleep together, again, it's kind of another like Situation Room-esque thing, not as serious, but everybody shows up the next morning to kind of deal with the situation that just transpired, and they walk
comedy scene that just wasn't the movie just wasn't directed very comedically, but like it could have been even funnier than it was.
No, I think this is probably one of my funnier scenes in the movie. I like this scene a lot. And the way that it is just played so matter-of-factly, like, okay, here's what we're going to do. The press are at every door. What are you going to say to it? And then, like you said, he's kind of denying it the whole time. He's like, we don't say anything. Like, we don't even acknowledge that this is happening. Like, there is no Sydney issue or at all. He's still
insisting on an idealized world that there's not going to be any non-ideal consequences.
Yeah, this is politics.
It should be my business. It should be her business. We should be trusted by the American public to do our jobs, correctly without corruption. And so therefore, we don't have to do anything about it. And everybody's like, yeah, that's not exactly how the world works, buddy. I think at one point there is a line where it's like, well, it's nobody's business. And I think maybe Martin Sheen is the one who says like, the American people have a bad habit of deciding what's their business and not,
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, there is no personal life. Like, yeah, this is politics. This is personal. They don't get to have that. And yeah, you're the president of the United States.
It's like wishful thinking, and a little bit of naivety from him. Like, don't worry, it'll all go away. This won't have any problems at all. And then eventually it does. Because I think the next big scene is really just a sequence of multiple things happening. Rumson, his relationship becomes more public. So that Richard Dreyfuss ramps up attacks about it. His opinion polls go lower because of this stuff. He's not doing anything about it. And then the development of the gun bill versus her environmental bill causing an actual conflict of interest.
Yeah, and we see like all those like I guess not montage. I guess this is like a montage of like his numbers constantly dropping. They're like yes, all mixed in with Rums. I want to say Rumsfeld, and that's not his name.
Yeah, that's right, Rumson.
Donald Rumsfeld. Yeah, and like I said, I thought that Rumson. I remembered that he was more of a villain in this, and he's kind of not. Like he's like a backstage like.
Well, just that he was more present. Yeah. They cut a lot of his stuff out.
I feel like they did. He felt less nefarious, but I kind of liked it. That there wasn't this villain, like there wasn't Dave. Like you had that villain in the movie.
I like it too because it's not about like one bad person. It's literally about like the whole American media, governmental, popular opinion, like ecosystem that's working against them. And yeah, there is one person who's his enemy, political enemy, that's fueling it. But then, especially at the end, when you get the big, great speech, half of that speech is directed directly at Richard Dreyfuss, who hasn't been made to be that much of a big bad yet. Now, when he's on screen, when he's in that interview and they're at Camp David, he's pretty evil. Like he's straight up calling her names. He's spreading rumors about her trading sexual favors for bills or whatever. That's definitely downright evil stuff. Whereas the other clips of him are more like, what's going on? American values, blah, 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 kind of vague things to try to just add some gas to the fire that's probably already cooking. Yeah. But he's a weird character. They just didn't have room for him, I guess.
Yeah, it is a weird character.
I wonder if there was fights about like, what if we take Rumson out, but please let me have my bombing Libya proportional response scene. That has no take for the rest of the movie. Like that stuff doesn't matter for the rest of the movie. But maybe like Sorkin and or Reiner just like really wanted that in there. Whereas maybe some studio execs are like, what if this was just more about like a bad guy and a sweet relationship, instead of about actual lobbying and who votes for what kind of stuff.
I think they needed to show the president doing his job at some point. Instead of just having these two bills in the background that he really hasn't doing much with. He just, they're trying to find votes or whatever, but prepping for their next election cycle, which, is annoying as it is. Like, hey, we're not going to do anything until after I get reelected, which I'm just, you want to name something, name something that pisses off American people. It's that kind of stuff. Like,
yeah, no, they did need to show him being president, but they could have gotten away with out of it. I don't know. Maybe Rob Reiner was respected enough because not only was he, he's beloved in the industry. I think a lot of people just like, he's like a nice guy and everybody likes him. So he gets to do what he wants most of the time. Even the stuff where his own staff are arguing with him, most people pre-Sorkin being a force to deal with, which is in this movie, would be like, well, why is this rom-com not about, like Chad said, it could have just been a regular civilian. It could be a really charming Dave-like comedy where the president falls in love with a regular civilian and all the politics don't have to matter as much. And you don't have to have these conversations about like, well, what about handguns and assault rifles? Like, and I think the studio or the average audience might have wanted that more, but somebody, probably Sorkin, but probably Reiner too, were like, hey, we want to make this movie only 2 hours because it's a romance movie, but also we want to keep in this, like, how do we bomb people and feel okay about it? How do we, how does the sausage get made behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think you have to have that in there because if you don't, then it's just Dave. Then it is just Dave.
And it's just another movie that I wouldn't have all these thoughts and feelings about.
Right.
Special as that stuff is in there.
And one is, yes, this was, I think, a smarter version and gives you more of that political stuff that I think does make it unique as a romantic comedy. Dave is great. And Dave is is obviously one of the movies that I would pair with this movie. But it does something way different. It is heavier on the comedy. It is about like putting a real person into the shoes of the president by happenstance. It's more magical.
Nice. Yeah. But I think one of Sorkin's constant thesis statements is that being incredibly educated is not bad and doesn't mean that you can't be a regular person or understand regular person things. Mm-hmm. So he creates these almost mythical figures like Jed Bartlett or Michael Douglas in this, who like got straight A's at Stanford and just read really thick constitutional books for fun, but also know what it's like to be on a farm. Like they just have everything, right? These impossible figures who are like down to earth, but also incredibly elevated, intelligent, charming people at the same time.
What's his face from Newsroom? Just another example of this.
Yeah.
Too.
In Newsroom sometimes he'll know everything about every political issue at any moment, but then he'll be like, when I was on the farm in Iowa, we used to say this or whatever. And I was like, all right, man. Well, and then, a politician, I don't believe you.
And then the Newsroom does the flip of it, where it's like, oh, this is like some Bill O'Reilly-esque person with a soul. Yeah, he's supposed to be on the conservative side of things, and that's Sorkin writing a conservative, which is a little bit different, more interesting. But but I mean, I love those moments in the Newsroom too. We've talked about the Newsroom numerous times.
So we're into like the Rumson stuff, the bill. I think it's the Christmas party where also it becomes a moral issue, not just whether he's going to stick up for his girlfriend, but his girlfriend accidentally reveals some political leverage. And Martin Sheen goes, did the lobbyists just say that we can get 3 votes for the gun bill by doing this? And Michael Douglas is like, no, my girlfriend just said she had a bad day at work, and it would be pretty fucked up if we didn't, we made that made this political decision behind her back because she was acting as herself in her personal life and not in her professional life.
Which was like the one moment where I was like, "Oh, Martin Sheen, you're supposed to be the angel on his shoulder." I feel like through most of the film, and then that was kind of like the devil on his shoulder, being like, "Hey, we could buy these 3 votes for our crime bill if we just sack this environmental bill."
I think like Leo McGarry in West Wing, I think he's on the president's side. He knows that being a best friend to him is doing his job the best, but he is his best friend. So he always brings it up, and then he does what the president wants. And then I think neither of those characters ever really give their personal opinion until they're asked for it or until it's desperately needed. So he goes, okay, we won't do that. And then we get more like montage kind of scenes of things getting worse until being like, hey, that thing we talked about, that like option that we said wasn't an option is now our only option. And then that's when he says, he says it bluntly to him,
We also get that during that scenes like where they have to go to the last resort. That's when we get the scene with Lewis kind of losing it on the phone and being at their wits' end and seeing. I feel like Michael J. Fox going to a place that I haven't seen him before. We're used to Michael J. Fox being Spin City. We're used to Back to the Future and kind of being in these like For Love or Money like Doc Hollywood roles.
He plays the West Wing Toby character, who's my favorite West Wing character. The grumpy one who's more willing to fight back for ideals, but like be a jerk about it. Doesn't need to be nice. I wouldn't want Toby to be replaced in the West Wing, but I would have loved to see his career where Michael J. Fox, Spin City's a great sitcom. It's not the best of its era. I'd like to see Michael J. Fox doing more work in West Wing than in Spin City.
Yeah, and he was great anytime that he showed up in those shows, like Scrubs, his appearances in Scrubs when he comes in as a guest star for a few episodes. He's great in those episodes because Scrubs does that good balance too of comedy and drama, and he's amazing, and I think he didn't get enough of those chops. But like, I heard Michael J. Fox scream the F word in this movie, and I've seen this movie before multiple times, and I was like, whoa,
it was great.
He just said the F word and said "fuck you" to Diet Coke. I loved it. And just desperate. You see him like. I love at the end of the movie too when the president is making his final speech. And he actually says the thing about, hey, we're going to do away with that gun bill because it's not going to do anything that it needs to do. And like you see, I think it is AJ or somebody that puts their hand on his shoulder or something, or it's the Poles guy.
Right.
Like he makes a facial expression there that he's like, okay, finally somebody's listened to me and knows what I was talking about at the very beginning of the movie.
Well, and then like the build of the team is like, they're all on the same team, but they all have different like priorities and ways to get to their goals. So I think, Martin Sheen, his priority is we protect your presidency, we protect you, and we protect your presidency. And then we get done what we get done afterwards. And that's the way to get our goals. Whereas the Michael J. Fox kind of character is more like, no, we go no holds barred at a better like world and our ideals and getting things done, and the rest be damned. Like we'll fail trying as hard as we can, instead of trying to like tiptoe and like, dance our way around a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, I liked his character in the beginning where he's like, no, let's take our approval rating as it is right now and try it out like it's a brand new car. Like, we need to test drive this and see what we can get past with our approval rating.
And then later on, he gets the, which is classic Sorkin stuff where one character every 2 episodes gets to like yell at the president and then apologize. Like he gets that scene later on.
Yeah.
Where he said, I can't talk to you that way because I'm not just your employee, I'm a citizen. You're my
that's such a good line too. So I like that. What do you have anything between now and the final speech?
Only that it was a really good scene, the second pool scene between AJ and the president, where they kind of get in a fight. There's a lot of good things said there. Where the president gets frustrated and attacks him as his friend. He's like, why are you always one step behind me? And then AJ sticks up for himself. He's like, if I wasn't, you'd be the best, like, high school teacher or something. And
the best history teacher at the University of Wisconsin.
Yeah, right. Which is a pretty good life, to be fair. But he gets all of that. I do wanted to point out there was something that bothered me where he's like, well, why don't you fight back about this guy? They're right. I've been keeping my opinion to myself. Everybody's saying fight back against this guy. Why don't you? And then Michael Douglas goes, well, what has he lied about? He hasn't lied about anything. And then I was like, well, wait, he did say that like multiple people were saying that your girlfriend was trading sexual favors for like laws being passed. Was that not a lie? I thought that was a lie. Like, oh, he has lied about stuff,
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I thought that was weird that he was like, well, I can't do anything because everything he's saying is technically true. But that was a good, like, they fought each other and then they made up. And then his guardian angel, Martin Sheen, does like send him is the impetus for him to have the final scene, the big climax.
Yeah. We do have that scene in between, or where he does get, like, he does the wrong thing before the final speech, where he does technically get the Motown 3 or whatever to flip on that bill, and then she ends up, they kind of have their breakup moment or whatever.
Sure, yeah, that's the big thing, is that they break up because she gets fired because he's undermined her bill. He tries to make it like separate. He tries to make it too perfect again, where he's like, look, you didn't get screwed over. The environment got screwed over, and that happens sometimes. Like, you know, you did everything right. Nothing ever bad should ever happen because of our relationship. And she's like, that's bad shit happened, you know?
Yeah. And I love that she's still like, he's like, do you want me to call him? Do you want me to call your boss? And she's like, oh, great. And then I'll get 72 days back at my job to do nothing. Like, I love her reaction.
She's a good little rant. Like, she keeps going off. You expect her to, like, it to be more back and forth, but she just doesn't stop yelling and escalating how mad she is and starts slamming dressers and stuff. That's pretty great.
Yeah. And then she gets her badass line, which I think is kind of a cheesy line, but also badass at the same time.
I don't remember it at the moment.
He's like, I don't want to feel like I'm losing you. Yeah.
It is very cheesy, but it's badass. Yeah.
And then we get his final speech where everything gets righted. He basically says he throws away the gun bill or the crime bill, whatever. Guns don't equal crime. It's the crime bill. That's the one that they're trying to get past. And says that we're going to go forward with the environmental bill. And then he attacks Rumsden or
Rumsen, yeah.
Rumsen. I keep wanting to say Rumsfeld. Yeah. A true villain.
Yeah. The speech is funny too. It's very good. It's got a lot of things in it. But then there's a few parts, like, he admits to the American people that the relationship made him bad at his job. He just says that.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, oh, I was trying so hard. What does he say? I was trying so hard not to lose something, like, that I actually, like, did my job worse because of this relationship. And then I was like, whoa, don't say that, man.
Yeah, man. You got to be on at all times.
Yeah. Like, I like that you're being vulnerable right now, but don't admit that having a girlfriend made you a worse president, because that just makes Rumsen right about everything.
Yeah. And I do like this thing. And I don't know if Sorkin ever did this, but Douglas is talking right into the camera. Like, it's we're not even looking at like a TV or a screen. He has looked like it is focused right on.
Notice that. That is interesting.
Douglas's face. So it was interesting to me that he did that, but it was like he was talking, and maybe it is like this preachy moment where they're like, I am now talking to the public, like not to the people in America in this movie. I'm talking to the people in America that are watching this, instead being and spouting off about his ideals. And
it's another Sorkin thesis that an honest, confident leader shows their honesty and confidence, through their confidence, and that people will get behind that even if they disagree with them. Now, that, like, it's a little pie in the sky, but there's some reality to it. There's the big fight scene where they're talking about, like, they're following Rumsen because he's the only one talking. Like, people want leadership, and if you don't give it to them, they'll run to anybody who grabs a microphone. Like, that hit me true about current politics. That people run to a person who picks up the microphone and speaks loudly and brazenly when all competition kind of mumbles their way through a bunch of, like, garbage.
Yeah.
That's a really smart insight about how politics works. And so, like, it kind of, it's written, but, like, itself, like, proves that that thesis statement at the end, where once Michael Douglas decides, you know what, I'm gonna meet this head on, and I'm not going to be scared of anything, and I feel confident in myself and what we're going to do. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to do the honest thing and the vulnerable thing. And then, like, you don't get to see a montage of his polls going up, but you assume that they do.
Yeah.
That level of leadership and directness and talking right into the camera, really metaphorically, makes the American people go, okay, I like him again,
It is a very Sorkin ending to me as well, that we don't get to see, like, resolution. I mean, we get to see resolution in the Oval Office between him and Sidney, but the final scene is just him walking in for the State of the Union address, and that's it. We don't get anything else. We don't get any resolution behind that.
Yeah, and honestly, the romance resolution is pretty fast. It's really well done, but it's pretty fast too. I think if he could, he'd end it on the speech, but has to get a couple things done before that.
Yeah, we got to have her coming back, All right, who's your favorite character or scene stealer?
I forgot about that question. Who was yours?
I'm going with Lewis because I really like Lewis, and I was impressed not only with Michael J. Fox in this movie, but he still does get to be a funny character. He has a couple good one-liners about dating.
Yeah, right. It's
really-
very
yeah.
like in the Beltway pole kind of cynical dating person. Yeah.
It felt like the Bradley Whitford character in there a
I was
lot.
gonna say I called him the Toby character, but he is both Toby and Bradley Whitford.
Yeah.
Whitford inside the at the same time.
Because I do think
Bradley
that
Whitford is a speechwriter too.
yeah, and I do think that the press secretary is a little bit Toby as well, but she doesn't get as much time to
Mhm.
be Toby.
Well, I feel like Toby is always like saying something really blunt and then going, "I apologize, Mr. President. I should never
Yeah.
speak to you that way." Like that's happened a lot.
that is true. That is where Lewis is the But do you like? I mean, who do you like better between Michael Douglas and Sydney?
Michael Douglas.
The president and Sydney. Sorry,
Yeah, Sydney's
as a
Sydney's third
character.
name. Sydney Ellis Wade.
Sydney Ellen Wade.
Okay, sorry. I only know her like her full name. I was really thrown
Because that's all they say. I don't think the president calls her
It's so
anything
much.
besides Sydney Ellen Wade.
Only other one, yeah. Who do I like more? I like the president more.
Yeah, I think that, and that's
Yeah,
basically
that's
what I was
part of
thinking.
the writing. Again, he gets to kind of be a Chad the whole time, where she's not ever like shown to be pathetic, but she has to be the person who's a little like Kathy about everything. Like, she's a little. I don't know, like they I'm going through the wrong door, and I did it again. Oh my god, I can't help it. Like, and they don't do it so much that it makes her unlikable or it makes her seem stupid or anything like that. But she has to play that role where, like, yeah, Michael Douglas gets to have all the power and gets to solve the problems he created. Like nobody else gets to do anything. So that's So I guess I'd like him more.
And I think Martin Sheen's character AJ would be a little like. I think I'm just wanting him to be Jed Bartlett the whole time, and he's not a main player in this besides being the best friend of the president. And I think I was wanting him to be much more of like Leo.
I think Martin Sheen was my favorite character. The AJ was, but that's because I'm feeling everything that he does as Jed Bartlett, and everything that actor does as Leo McGarry, and so he gets a few good scenes where he gets to do all of that stuff. But I'm just, I'm kind of like putting a lot underneath of what's actually in the movie, maybe.
Yeah.
You know what? I would say I'd like Sydney a lot more if they had taken some dialogue, some of the political bantering that Sorkin does, and gave it to her instead of only his staff. If they were like on a date and they like were having a good time, but then they got deep into like a political debate and she held her own and then criticized them and like held his feet to the fire about something, and then they kind of laughed about it, like, oh yeah, I got to leave work at work or whatever, and still liked each other for it. Then if she had gotten a few more of those verbal, badass moments rather than just like getting the tearing the things off and getting the senators on board, then I could have liked her character a little bit more. But I didn't dislike her character.
I didn't. This is one of the movies that I like Annette Bening in more than some of her other roles.
I agree.
I don't know what it is about her.
A lot of slop.
Yeah. Any memorable lines that stood out to you? Like I said, I had to like stop and say, I'm not going to do this.
Let's see. Well, I mean, the first one I wrote, I already mentioned, but the actual quote is, "People want leadership, Mr. President, and in the absence of genuine leadership, they'll listen to anyone who steps up to the microphone." All right, my favorite line in the movie, and I do think it has a lot to say about current politics. Sydney says, "How do you have patience for people who claim they love America but clearly can't stand Americans?"
Yeah, that's a good line.
That's a really good line, and I think that still has a lot of relevance.
We talked about the Lewis line where he says, "I'm a citizen. This is my president, and in this country, it is not only permissible to question our leaders; it's our responsibility." It's a very preachy, like total Sorkin-y thing to say.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Her sister says, "Sydney, the man is the leader of the free world. He's brilliant, funny, handsome. He's an above average dancer. Isn't it possible her standards are just a tad high?"
Her sister, man, they have matching haircuts, and it just drives me nuts.
Yeah, right.
Let's see here. The president says, "Lewis, we've had presidents who were beloved, who couldn't find a coherent sentence with two hands and a flashlight. People don't drink the sand because they're thirsty. They drink the sand because they don't know the difference."
I have a problem with that line because I've thought a lot about it and I don't know what it means.
Doesn't it sound like it's that he's calling them stupid?
Yeah.
It does, right?
Right, but I don't think that can't be it. But then also in that moment, thunder. There's a thunderclap. They did not establish there's a storm, but when he gives that little line, it slow pulls to his face, the music swells, and after he's done, thunder, and the conversation's over. And I'm like, why? It was a really great scene. It was a really good back and forth, but I don't know what that last line means. They don't know the difference between sand and water. And I think, yeah, it does sound like he's calling them stupid.
And maybe he's saying like they need to inform the American people of what is right, what is the right thing to do. Like here, don't drink the sand. It's, not water.
That's what I thought. But then the argument is about how he's not saying anything, and he's on the other side of that argument.
Yeah, because
it
was
would be
confusing,
like,
but I needed to.
Okay, Mr. President, then go to the microphone and explain the difference between sand and water. Like then that would help, right?
Mhm.
Like that's what you just said was the issue. I don't understand that line. But it was delivered great.
It's delivered so well, but like
Yeah.
I love that they drink the sand because they don't. I just love that. I don't know that whole thing, but
It's
you're
great,
right
yeah.
because that is exactly. I thought he was calling them stupid.
Right. I was
That's exactly how it-
yeah. It was a convoluted metaphor too, but I love those when Storian does them.
Maybe he doesn't know what sand is himself.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we don't know what sand is. I don't know. Anything else? What else?
Let me see what this one is. We kind of skipped over like one of the big things, and this would not fly today, but they find a picture of her from years ago at a anti-apartheid rally where they're burning the American flag, and they put that all over the news, which would destroy a president a lot today.
Mm-hmm.
But then his take on it was like, let me see if I got this. The third story in the news tonight was that someone I didn't know 13 years ago, when I wasn't president, participated in a demonstration where no laws were being broken in protest of something that so many people were against it doesn't even exist anymore. Just out of curiosity, what was the fourth story? I also, I'm glad that they threw in some anti-apartheid shit in there because America loves ignoring that shit.
Yeah. I have the part where she goes, "Oh, Andy, a C- in women's studies," and he says, "Yeah, well, that class wasn't what I thought, or wasn't about what I thought it was about." That
was funny.
The clear comedy in this movie.
I got two great one-liners, and I think that's all I have. The first one is, "I went to Stanford, you blowhole."
That was good.
Just that quick and pithy. And then the other one is, does the NRA have video of you playing golf with Satan?
Yeah, that was pretty good when they're talking to the senators or whatever about getting their votes. I have two more as well. I've got the one that we've kind of not even talked about is where Sidney Ellen Wade says, "Mr. President, you've got bigger problems than losing me. You just lost my vote."
It's so dumb, but
it is so dumb.
It belongs in the movie, I guess.
Yeah, you just lost my vote because, like, essentially, Michael J. Fox delivers the same line, but better.
But he doesn't care because
he doesn't care.
He's fucking Michael J. Fox.
Would have been a better movie, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
And then my final one is when they're talking about dating in the limo, and he said the president is going to buy flowers. He's like, "I got to get her roses." That's what you do when a man does when he cancels a date. Mm-hmm. And Robin says, "That's not what men do. I know no men who do that."
Yeah, right.
And I really love Michael. Well, I got it in. Oh, also, if you were a dork, you should say you're sorry. Girls like that.
The daughter was great.
She was cute.
More with her. She was cute, and it was a little pie in the sky. But I do like that she seems healthy, and their relationship seems healthy, and she's well adjusted, and she's okay with them dating. That's not part of the plot. Not that necessarily is completely realistic in any of those situations, but that it was just nice to see.
Yeah. Biggest laugh, cry, scare, or thrill in the movie? Not a lot of scares or thrills in this movie. Not really any cries either.
I did. Speaking of the daughter, I did think it was funny when she played "Hail to the Chief" when he was walking away. I can't read what that says. All right. So I got two. I got one me being a snotty nerd moment, and then a what the fuck moment. The what the fuck moment was when Richard Dreyfuss gets like the burning picture, and it's snowing outside, and it slowly zooms in on him, and he goes, It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Was.
And then he takes a deep breath to keep singing, and the movie just moves on.
That's what I'm saying. Like they wanted him to be so evil in this movie, and he's not. He's not that bad.
He was about to sing another line. I wanted to see the uncut version. I was like, how long does he go?
Everywhere you go.
And my other moment is just the French guy's like, oh, they would have, if you tried to dance before without the king's permission, they'd send you to the guillotine. The guillotine was not official equipment until the revolution. So Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette would not do that. The guillotine was made to be a more humane way of killing people than they would have killed you.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
We get a little history lesson here.
I just it felt good to be smarter than Aaron Sorkin for a second.
Suck it. I liked biggest laughs in this movie. Lewis's dating advice, where he's like, "Oh, I tell them up until 30 minutes before if they, I will confirm with them the date 30 minutes before." And the girl's like,
it's a cold commitment or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And then whenever the president does walk in on Sidney, like bashing him at the beginning of the movie, he says, well, let's take him out back and beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, we forgot that line. That was great. Yeah. It was delivered so, like, I don't know. It just, Sorkin can do this pretty well too, but it's just nice in the midst of all of the fucking elevated, unrealistic dialogue when someone's just like, kind of doing something like that. That's why I went to Stanford. You blowhole was so good.
Yeah. The only WTF ridiculous moment is like him giving his daughter a giant book of constitutional whatever to read. She's like, "Are you giving me your school books about the Constitution?" He's like, "Yes, absolutely, and I will quiz you on this." I was just like,
"Yeah, that's very Jed Bartlett," and that both those characters have this thing where like, I won't apologize for being a nerd. It's not a nerdy to care about. Like, I was like, it sounds fun to go to a camp where you debate, constitutional amendments. So.
No, I love that she's like has straight A's and everything else except for like civics or social studies. Best music moment. We already talked about Mark Shaman. He got nominated for best original score for the Academy Award. He did not win. Anything else you wanted to pull out besides?
No, just that I went and looked into it because it felt so much like West Wing. I was like, well, did this guy go on to do the West Wing music? And he didn't, but
no.
It was clearly what he did, especially being Oscar nominated, was taken as a cue to whoever did that music.
The song though that they danced to, the first dance to, is from The King and I. It is "I Have Dreamed" from the musical The King and I.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. All right. It's time for F, Marry, Kill. And I'm not doing 3 characters. I'm doing 3 positions, not sexual positions.
F, Marry, Kill, the Bill of Rights.
F, Marry, Kill. We're going to do would you rather, or not would you rather. It's chief of staff, press secretary, or personal aide.
I mean, I think just modern politics is just, well, yeah. I think you marry your personal aide, and I think I'm also answering of what I think how modern politics works. Mm-hmm. You kill your press secretary; they go out of style in 6 months.
If you're Donald Trump, then you get rid of him after like 20 days.
Yeah, right. I mean, we're Scaramucci, right?
Yeah, Scaramucci's. How many Scaramucci's do you last?
Yeah, I forgot about that. Then you fuck your chief of staff because they don't stay around forever, but you wanna keep them close and on your side. And you marry your personal aide.
Okay. Chief of staff.
Because I feel like those people stick around forever, and they just they just get you what you need, and they're kind of there for the long haul.
No, I like that. I like
you don't fuck your press secretary because you piss them off,
and they're going to the press.
Yeah, they're going to the press. They're going to the microphone.
You're right. Maybe it's better to marry. Maybe it's better to marry the press secretary than.
I feel like for the same reason, you may not want to do that. I think you keep them real happy. You court them for a Scaramucci's amount of time, then you kill them and you do it all over again.
I feel like we didn't talk about Samantha Mathis in this very much as his personal aide, but who is the personal aide in West Wing?
Oh, well, it's fucking Dule Hill for a while, right?
Oh, that's right. It is
later on. Magic Head, Gus, Burton Guster.
Magic Head.
He goes by many names in Psych.
Oh my God.
Galileo Humpkins was a recent one I saw. Yeah, he comes in. I think that was his job, right? He's like the bag man. So I don't know if there was a person before that or if they just brought that position in for, but mostly like there's a mixture between the press secretary, like CJ doing, well, I don't think CJ does a lot of that, but is it the same actress, the older woman who plays the older woman character in West Wing?
Ooh, I think it is. I think you're
social
right.
Director. I think it might be the same actress too, who's like the social director. So she's doing a lot of that work in West Wing. But yeah, they bring in Dule Hill to be the bag man, and then he ends up fucking the president's daughter, which is pretty.
The youngest daughter. Yeah, she's great. All right, let's do who gave the best performance? Do you think in this movie? I forgot about that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Michael Douglas.
Yeah, that's what I said. Michael Douglas is the best in this. He really got me in this one. I don't know. Yeah. He's good. He's a good actor. I feel like I've only thought of him as a sexual being in those movies.
I guess I've only seen a lot of. I bet there's probably a lot more like prestige Michael Douglas acting out there that I haven't seen. And I just think of I mean, and I just get them mixed up with Michael Keaton, and they both have been mid in everything I've seen. I guess so. I don't know. That may not be a fair take on their careers. It's just how I feel about them, my experience.
Speaking of, who would you cast in lead roles of this movie? If you could recast in 95, you can do that. If you'd rather recast and do a 2025 or both, it doesn't matter. I did
a little both. I mean, Robert Redford was attached early on. He felt like a good idea. Martin Sheen's an obvious one.
Yeah.
So for Annette Bening, though, I couldn't think of anything except for Holly Hunter. If you think Holly Hunter from Broadcast News.
Ooh, I didn't even think about her in,
but also like very emotional too. I think she would probably kill the role.
The only people I thought about were Joan Allen, who maybe Pleasantville. She's in Pleasantville. She's in the Bourne Identity movies. Mary McDonnell, who plays the president's wife in Independence Day, also is the president in Battlestar Galactica.
Oh yeah, her. She's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe she could do that. Speaking of Michael Keaton, his real name is Michael Douglas, and changed it to Michael Keaton because there was already a Michael Douglas. I thought maybe he would be a good.
Yeah, I did think about him. Yeah, and it would make sense. I think he probably because he doesn't have the sonorous voice that Michael Douglas is. It's kind of hard to replace him. That's why, like Martin Sheen. And for a romantic movie, he wouldn't be cast that way. But obviously, he proved that he can do the role even better later on.
Could Denzel have been in this?
Oh, I put Denzel for the 2025 one.
Okay.
Because I also thought, like, I struggled with casting because I couldn't do it consistently. I was like, well, these people should be older.
Yeah, I did think about that.
80 years old, like our last like presidents, but like, 70s. They should be like 60.
Yeah.
Or they're widowers or whatever and single, but can still date, married to their job, still can have romance, that kind of thing. But so it's kind of hard to cast that way. So in 2025, I would like to see Denzel more, but I think an obvious choice would be Tom Hanks.
Ooh, yeah, Tom Hanks would be good. I was trying to think of that person that is likable, but also smart. I think,
yeah. I think Tom Hanks can do that and be very like everyman about his intelligence. And I think he can raise his voice in a way that makes him authoritative when he needs to.
Have you ever seen Friday Night Lights, the TV show?
I really haven't, no.
I thought the coach from Friday Night Lights, Kyle Chandler, yeah, I think he would be a good obvious choice. Just put him and his wife from that in this movie. It'd be great. Connie Britton.
Yeah. Well, 2025 for Annette Bening's character, I had some good ones, but I couldn't think of anybody that would match the age of Denzel and Tom Hanks, or I didn't take the time to. I think my Phoebe Waller-Bridge, if she was doing an American accent, I think would be pretty great.
I don't even mind to make this person British. Like, if Emma Thompson was going to do it, let's put Emma Thompson in it. Like, I
thought of Zoe Saldana. I think maybe the deep pool that would be really good to be like Carrie Coon.
Oh, I love Carrie.
I think she's like an Annette Bening who's a better actor.
She is our Annette Bening.
I love Carrie Coon. Every time I've seen her in something, I'm enamored.
She's great. I love Carrie Coon. I wish she was in so much more. Famous husband too.
Who's she married to again?
She's married to an old man. What is her? He's a novelist, I think. Tracy Letts. He's a playwriter. Gosh, you would know. I think he wrote August Osage County.
Okay, yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, I think he's written some books too, as well. I had like Amy Adams. I could not think of a Annette Bening-esque character that fit in like
No,
50s,
Amy Adams is a good
60s.
pull, and that'll come up actually when we get to pair with.
Yeah. All right. Any fun facts that you learned about this film? We said a few of them.
Yeah. Michael J. Fox was hiding his Parkinson's at this point.
Yeah.
And was very nervous about it, which is sad to think about. But yeah, even Rob Reiner didn't know. He was there. He had a little brief story about having shakes real bad right before they have to do like physical exams for insurance reasons, and like got his meds in just in time to get through that. So that was very sad. There was some lawsuit stuff that wasn't that interesting, but there was some like litigation about whether this was ripping off an older play, and then that litigation came back around again for West Wing.
Nice.
Same Oval Office in West Wing, and same one in Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have some?
Yeah, this is one of the few. We had this recently with Bridges of Madison County, where they say fuck in a PG-13 movie. This one says the word fuck 3 times, all within 15 minutes of each other, but never used in sexual context. So very few PG-13 movies have that. So
it shows also like if you like elevate the moment to something that feels important enough, then we overlook it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because like Michael J. Fox and like they're under this great stress and they're trying to do this important thing. So somehow that makes it more justifiable than just being angry at somebody.
So they do say that the telephone number that was given out in this is the actual telephone number for the White House, if you want to call it.
I had that. Assumed I was like, I don't know if that's true, but I read it. I'll write it down.
I thought about calling it just to make sure, and then leaving a message being like, "Hey, just wanted to check and make sure this was the White House." So,
this is Cody Waits with 52/. I'm a member of the press. I just needed to confirm something.
You think they'd let me in as a part of the press? Like they won't let the Associated Press in right now, but
yeah.
52/. I think I'm good.
Well, I think a podcaster's never had a better chance to get into the White House than right
like,
now.
Sir, I'm on Twitch. They're like, oh yeah, come on in. Come on.
Oh, absolutely.
Please.
You know Aiden Ross? I had Frank Capra's grandson was an assistant director on this.
Oh,
Frank
okay.
Capra III was a first assistant director, which is kind of interesting.
The only other thing I have is Aaron Sorkin was on crack when he wrote this.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I guess I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And I mean, it makes,
and then they say this, and then they say this.
It makes more sense now that he wrote 300 plus pages on crack cocaine.
Crack? Not even coke?
No, crack cocaine.
Just full on rock. Man, but still is writing like the most like elevated idealistic
so good.
politics. That just shows like cocaine doesn't make you. You don't have to make Boogie Nights. Like you can make the American president.
What else you got? Anything?
Well, 2 similar things. There is an Australian MP who plagiarized this movie twice in 2 different speeches. But then most famously, Ted Cruz did when he was defending his wife to Donald Trump, stole the line from the end of this movie. And then turned around and said, fuck my wife, fuck my dead dad, kissed Donald Trump's ass over and over again.
Yep, does bootlicking all the way.
Yep.
Like a fine wine and dish. If you could pair this movie with another movie for a double feature, what would you choose?
There's probably like some, if I did some deep thought, there's probably some more interesting ones. But obviously other movies like A Few Good Men come to mind. I think the most slept on Aaron Sorkin movie that I love deeply and I think is like under 2 hours, quick, fun watch is Charlie Wilson's War.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
with
one.
Tom Hanks and Amy Adams. Julia Roberts is in there. Philip Seymour Hoffman doing great PSH work. So if anybody hasn't liked Sorkin at all or likes this movie at all and hasn't seen Charlie Wilson's War, that movie kind of came and went and nobody really watched much of it. But it's Tom Hanks as like a coke snorting prostitute fucking Texas senator who like pairs up with a CIA agent to make a covert war happen against the Russians invading Afghanistan in the 80s. So a lot of these sentimental moments, a lot better comedy, a lot of big speeches about politics and Cold War era stuff. Very good movie.
Nice. Anything else?
That's it.
How crazy is it while we're still on Aaron Sorkin of it all? He was early third. Like, I mean, this man was in this time 34 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Sorkin was 34 years old when he wrote this, or earlier, actually.
Yeah.
And that means A Few Good Men was even, he's in his 20s. Like,
yeah,
that's crazy.
Very impressive.
What have I done? I said I've already mentioned a couple of mine. Dave, I said was a obvious pairing with this. Primary Colors is one that I would add to this. That's more of like a satire about Clinton and everything, but I find it so like captivating. That is a movie that like, I think
forgot about that till you brought it up earlier. I love Primary Colors. That's a great.
I do
movie.
too. I love that movie so much, and I think it is. There are some like really heartwarming parts about it. I don't know. Like, I think it does reflect like the Bill Clinton of it all. And then finally, I said Long Shot. I think that's a pretty obvious one.
The one where Seth Rogen.
Yeah, Seth Rogen's a speechwriter for the Secretary of State or whatever. I love that movie. I think that movie's really great as a romantic.
I remember watching it and liking it. I didn't remember there was anything to do with politics. I didn't remember he was a speechwriter at all. I mean, I only remember that Seth Rogen's trying to get with Charlize Theron and that it was a funny movie, like R-rated comedy. But I wouldn't have connected it to this at all.
Scandal might not be a bad pairing with this as well. I forget what Olivia Pope's role is. She might be the press secretary for the president and has a affair with the president, but maybe a little less comedy than drama on that. So,
sure,
yeah. On a scale of 1 to 5, how likely are you to rewatch this movie?
I mean, I put 5. I would have put like 4.5.
Yeah, I think I went with a 4 on this. Apparently, I actually had it lower, and then I went to my letterbox and was like, "Oh, I watched this movie like not too long ago."
Yeah, it is breezy. I in my mind, it's one of those things where I'm like, "Oh, I've said this about Charlie Wilson's War," and then found out I was wrong when I tell people about it. I'm like, "It's a great movie. It's like 90 minutes, 100 minutes. It's not. It's 2 hours." And I told people before I rewatch this that this was like a great like 90-minute, 100-minute movie. It's 2 hours, so like it feels fast. Yeah, it feels fast the way that it's written and paced and edited. So I like that. That makes everything rewatchable. So I don't know that I'll rewatch it again anytime soon, but I definitely could see myself rewatching it again at some point. And I think its rewatchability is very high because there's a lot of jokes, nuanced lines that are going by so fast you can enjoy them over and over.
It definitely makes me want to rewatch The West Wing.
Yeah, makes me.
That's what it does.
I can't afford to right now, time wise. It's all like tied up in other like hobbies and stuff. But man, I was like, what if I could though? What if I dropped everything and just did that instead? Next time I get sick, I'm putting West Wing on.
Ooh, that'll be good. That's a good sick watch. Out of 5 stars, what do you rate it overall?
4.
Okay, I give it 3.5. I was like, yeah, solid movie. All right, well, big thank you to our guest Ryan. Before we wrap up, let's hear your your recent movie recommendations. They might be big.
Yeah, I haven't been watching a lot of 1001. I did get some a few weeks ago. The Bird with the Crystal Plumage I watched.
Ooh, did you like it?
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it, and I don't know that it's my favorite movie. I don't know that it's like a favorite, but it was Italian, like visually arresting, cool tension thriller. I like the colors a lot. Speaking of Italian, I did watch my first Mario Bava movie. He was an old Italian horror guy. Like people said that, people say that along with like Hitchcock and a couple others, like he invented horror. So I watched The Evil Eye.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Very lush black and white, some bad like English dubbing over the actors, but like very pretty, very well done thriller. Liked it more than I expected.
I think I've only seen Bay of Blood. I think that's Bava.
Okay, maybe.
And Black Sunday. I think.
Okay, I might have seen like E Vampiri a long time ago. That was familiar to me. At least I read about it, but I had to check my list to see if it's something.
No, I've seen Blood and Black Lace. I actually liked that one.
Yeah. I heard about my favorite musical artist or songwriter is John Darnielle of the Mountain Goats, and he's got a few songs that don't seem like it immediately, but when he's talked about it, he was like, "Yeah, this is all from a Mario Bava movie nobody's ever heard of."
Cool.
That's where I got all this imagery from.
Nice.
But I've been watching Oscar stuff. There's still like 5 or 6 Best Pictures I haven't seen, because I'm saving them for last. And there's a couple documentaries that may be impossible, but I'm still trying to track down or pirate or go see in a theater somewhere. But that was a lot of stuff. Wicked, Emilia Perez, Nosferatu, Better Man. I'll recommend that really hard. The Robbie Williams movie.
Oh, I haven't seen Better Man.
What, you're talking about? A Different Man?
I thought you were talking about A Different Man. I liked The Different Man a lot.
I liked The Different Man. I don't know that I liked it a lot, but I did like it. That's a cool movie, and it definitely like should have been made. Better Man is the biopic of Robbie Williams, the UK pop star, but instead of a person, it's a CGI ape. Not for any reason, except that I read that they said Robbie Williams didn't really take off anywhere but Britain. We thought Americans might watch it more if there was a CGI ape as the main character. That being said, that movie is the best like musician biopic I've seen in a long time. It follows the same beats that every musician behind the scenes VH1 storytellers thing does. But man, there was great choreography. There was great music. There was Robbie Williams keeps seeing other Cartoon 8 versions of his past selves in the audience. That's like his insecurity. It all culminates in a big samurai fight in the middle of a concert. It's a really good movie. It was only nominated for visual effects, but I think America's sleeping on that movie right now, and I think you would like it a lot. And then I think I haven't watched all the documentaries yet, but Soundtrack to a Coup d'Etat, which may not be legally available now. That documentary is just top notch editing, great jazz music, cool based like historical stuff about Congo in the 1960s.
That's one that I've been wanting to see. Is that one?
Yeah, I figured out some resources finally that I can watch some hard to find movies on. So I don't know that you can find that anywhere else. But other things, The Substance, Flow, Sing Sing. There's it's pretty good crop this year. Nothing, not an amazing one, but not a bad one either.
Yeah, it's not as bad as 2020, but it's better. It's better than 2020.
And there's still some big hitters I haven't seen. I haven't seen Conclave. The Brutalists, Enola.
Oh, I want you to see Conclave. I need you to see Conclave.
Yeah, I will. It's all happening this week. Yeah. I think I have to go see I'm Still Here in the theaters. Feeling something with English subtitles is impossible for me. And
that's how I feel about Anora.
Oh, really? I thought that was available somewhere.
Because it has like Russian subtitles in the middle of it. Like anytime that I tried to find,
I don't know that stuff. So yeah, that one might be difficult too. But I'm gonna try my best to see them all, and maybe in our Discord. Good time to plug the Discord. 52/ drop my favorite Oscar picks.
Hey, look at that. Nightbot coming in handy with the Discord. Thank you. Nightbot. Thanks, Nightbot. Well, that's good. I'm trying to keep up too, and I know we've got a week until the Oscars happen, but I do want to see some of I think I have 5 left. Probably the similar lot that you have. But I've been watching for some reason Korean movies, South Korean movies. I Saw the Devil, which is a revenge movie, and then that prompted me to watch a Park Chan-wook movie called Thirst, which is like a vampire movie that I do recommend. It is like funny. And if you have seen any Park Chan-wook movies, one, I recommend Decision to Leave and The Handmaiden. I think those movies are near perfect, if not perfect.
I've seen The Handmaiden, and
Handmaiden is so good and so weird, but so like, oh god, it's amazing. I also watched Alien Romulus because that's a nominated movie.
Yeah, too. I watched it too. It's a decent Alien movie. I didn't really fall in love with it, but it was good.
I thought it did really well of paying homage to and continuing the Alien unit, like from the early Alien. Like I like that they did the technology.
I like that they tied in the plot of this is what happened to that thing and that thing.
Yeah,
story, but still connected to that.
Yeah, so
Romo and stuff.
I'm
not the biggest Alien franchise person, and I saw Prometheus, but I've missed a lot of the franchise and haven't watched the old ones in a long time. I think I do like them and can enjoy them, but it's not totally my thing, so I haven't gotten around to it.
Alien Romulus did do the thing that I did not like, though, which is doing. I don't know if it's even fan service, but they brought back a character that is an Ian Holmes character, Ash, not technically Ash from the original Alien, but I was like, why are we doing this? We did not.
Oh, is that the guy who's like half alive and
the android?
I didn't make that connection, yeah.
Did not love that, and it looked bad, and I was like, we could have done something better here. So we could, Oh,
have you seen Gladiator 2?
I haven't seen it yet. I've been kind of holding off on it.
A lot of people gave it mid reviews. I guess because I expected mid, I was pleasantly surprised by it.
Is Denzel awesome?
Huh?
Is Denzel great in it?
Denzel is awesome.
So good.
And honestly, the plot's a little better and the characters are a little better than I expected. So everybody's calling it like a 6 out of 10. I'd maybe put it to a 7 out of 10 because I was pleasantly surprised by it being more than just. I was just kind of be like, as long as I get some gladiator violence, I'll be happy with that. But all that to say is that for the visual effects category, Gladiator is nominated for a lot of those things and deserves it. But there are cartoon animals in that movie that look so fucking bad. Look so bad. And I'm like, why did you do this? How did you fuck this up so bad? I don't need to see monkeys in the Coliseum, especially if they're going to look this bad. I can't wait for you to see that because it's like Oscar nominated. It might even win the Oscar for visual effects because it's so good in other things. But man, the monkeys and the rhinoceros, and, it's real dumb.
And then you watch a movie like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and they look so good. Like,
yeah, my girlfriend said the monkeys in Jumanji looked way better, and I was like, yeah, they did.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Well, those are some movies you should check out first. And like Ryan said, you can check those, get some more information by joining our Discord server. We talk in there a little bit. We've had some new people join the Discord server and liven up that conversation there. So do check that out. Also, if welcome to follow us on Instagram, you can check out my account on Letterboxd. Starting next Sunday, speaking of the Oscars, we're going to begin a new theme, and that theme is "And the Oscar Goes to." Obviously, we're going to be talking about the 5 films that were nominated for Best Picture at the 1996 Oscars. Always remember that. The movies that come out in the year will be in the next year's Oscars. So do check that out. We will first dive into the film Sense and Sensibility. So I do think it is streaming, like video on demand. Obviously, I have recently acquired a VPN, so I've been checking out streaming services in different countries. So that's really helped for me. I do recommend that if that is something that you have any kind of passion about. And then follow, more housekeeping stuff this month for extra credit. We're doing Spencer's Super Sweet Month of Movies, which are all films liked by our frequent guest Spencer, like House Guest, Man of the House, Bushwhacked, and Tom and Huck. A lot of those are on Disney Plus if you can find those. This will be this Wednesday, February 26th at 6 p.m. If you have been with us for a while, you are welcome to join that Discord. That is not, or that conversation on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. You are more than welcome, Ryan. You are more than welcome to come into there. That is not just for Spencer to talk about.
No, I'm going to watch Spencer do his job. A quick correction. Most of those movies you listed are only available on Disney Minus.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. Also, we have 52 1995 music. That is on Tuesdays. Join us on Tuesday for that. This week's album is a little bit different. It is Garth Brooks's greatest hits album, The Hits. It is not an album that you can actually find information or find anywhere. So you kind of have to just find a track list and listen to those Garth Brooks songs for you because they're all, out there. So check that out. You can see all those the messages about that on Instagram where I superimpose Alyssa's face into the album art of it. It's great and creepy at the same time. Other than that, I think that is everything for us. So thank you for tuning in and talking about the American president and Aaron Sorkin with us. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you to all the new followers that we got. I saw somebody joined earlier with this. So thank you so much for joining us. I've tried to scroll back and find who it was, but thank you so much. It's Steampunk Mick Bosch Share.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So thank you so much. And we'll